So if we come back to your list of people and eras that you want to talk about in terms of this community of, if you want to call them, rhizomatic practices.
Yes.
Okay, where would you like to start?
Well, I think the word we are using now is assemblage or plateau, like the book by Deleuze and Guattari called 1,000 Plateaus. But the idea of the assemblage, a kind of temporary creation which comes together almost serendipitously.
Mm-hmm.
And our field is a good example of that, and it's a rhizome description. That's why Deleuze and Guattari decided to talk about assemblages, not systems. So all our work together has been a refutation of the very richly cross-joined concept of systems or family systems or anything systemic. Bateson disagreed with that word, system. He wanted to show that mind was his idea of mental process is the conglomeration of circuits that set something into motion, not necessarily forever. And so our working together all these years has been such a good example of an assemblage of people assembling and disassembling and coming together and apart.
Which makes me think of how over the years we've continually searched for language or vocabulary which helped us
Yes.
have a sense of what we were experiencing in our work. And then of course as we began to have a sense of it, then the work would be influenced and shift and transformed in some way.
For instance, I thought that you and Harry, when you came up with the concept of not knowing, which so shocked the whole field. What do you mean not knowing? Do I take money from people for not knowing? Terrible. Remember the outcry that hit that particular idea?
Yes.
And when I asked you how did it come about, I was sure that it was some big, deep philosophical phrase that had to do with, that fitted in some large philosophical system. But all it did was to reflect the fact that when anybody asked you for what that meant, for what something you did in an interview meant, was supposed to be, you would just say, we don't know. That hit me with enormous force. I thought, they really mean it.
And particularly when people would ask us, well, what do you think is really going on with this family?
Yes.
What do you really think about that mother? We would say, we're not the person to ask. You should ask her.
For them.
Yeah, ask
The
them.
family.
The family, yeah. So it was like, in a way, when the Milan team was talking about hypothesizing and people would say, well, what's your hypothesis? We would say, well, we don't hypothesize, but perhaps you want to ask the mother, the father, the daughter, their quote-unquote hypothesis.
You made it a conversational event. You took all the importance away.
Yeah. But it was a very provocative
Yes.
time for us, and still is, because I still have people say, but what do you mean by not knowing? How can you pretend to not know? And I said, well, it's not about pretending. It's the way that you think about knowledge and your position, the intent with which you use it, and that knowledge includes sort of the way you take it in and the way you put it out. I mean, knowledge influences how you listen, how you hear,
Well,
how
the
you
thing
see.
is, the word knowledge leaves out the whole serendipitously interactive quality of a search which is going on. And it's like the image I love of digging holes in a beach as a child when you dig your hands in and make the hole bigger and under the sand, and then suddenly you feel the sand beginning to crumble toward the end of your fingers, and you suddenly touch a living human hand.
At the who's digging from the other side. Yeah.
I love that
yeah.
idea.